I'm going to be ranking every single hidden power type in Generation 3 OU. First things first, though, we got to handle the does not exist tier. So, first one up is Fairy. This is Generation 3. Fairy was introduced in Generation 6. If you did not know that, I don't know how you found this video. The next type in the doesn't exist tier, which I'm going to rank slightly higher than Fairy, is normal. I'm going to put it higher because I'm sure at least one of you guys believe that hidden power could be normal. It can't. It says it's a normal type. That is a lie. Do not believe that. While I'm talking about normal, I need to let you know something because of the way it's coded into the game. If you go for hidden power grass on like Swampert and it goes for counter on you, it will completely annihilate you, because even though hidden power grass is a special move, because hidden power is a normal move in the coding, all normal type moves, as you know, are physical. So even if you go for hidden power grass on Swampert and they click counter, you die. If you go for hidden power grass on Regirock and they click counter, you will have a heart attack. Okay? So just be mindful of that. You may not even be consciously aware of it, but whenever you put hidden power on a Pokemon, you are fulfilling two conditions. The first condition is the more obvious one. It's just coverage, right? I want my Pokemon to have a hidden power type to defeat certain Pokemon. You know, whether it be just bad matchups or perhaps that this just so happens to be my Pokemon's strongest stab. So like Salament's running hidden power flying because that's just its strongest flying type attack. So the first condition is just simply, you know, damage, good coverage, right? Everyone knows that. The second condition, which you might not have been aware of, is when you choose a hidden power, it must be better than the other 15 because you can only have one. So you got to choose carefully. So now that we understand the conditions that have to be met, we can rank this more accurately, okay? So the worst hidden power type in all of Generation 3 OU is Poison. There are so many things wrong with hidden power Poison. I don't even know where to begin. So I'm going to try my best right now. So the first easy reason that I thought in my head was every single poison type in this game simply gets Sludge Bomb. That is a far superior move. It does more damage and has a 30% chance to poison, right? So no poison type is going to be using hidden power Poison. As a matter of fact, any Pokemon for that matter that learns Sludge Bomb will not be using hidden power Poison. And another huge problem is the fact that Poison is the worst offensive type in the entire game. Poison is only super effective against grass. That is its only super effective matchup. And there's only like a few relevant grass types. Do you know what resists poison? Oh man, it's not good. So the least problematic one is poison itself. Poison, not a very good type in general. Okay. Although Gengar is a poison type. You know what else resists poison? Ghost. Oh, Gengar is both of them. Okay, so Gengar basically takes no damage from that. That's cool. You know, Dusclops, Mischievous. That's not cool either. But it gets way worse than that because have you ever heard of Tyranitar before? Tyranitar does this thing where it sets up a sandstorm. The only Pokemon that don't take any damage in a sandstorm are rock, ground, and steel types. You are not going to believe what resists poison. So rock and ground both resist poison, and then steel is just completely immune to it. That is a terrible offensive profile. It's literally the worst in the game. And not only are these Pokemon everywhere of those types, but they're also the most dominant ones in the game. Tyranitar is the most common one. I literally did a video about popularity rankings. Tyranitar, most popular Pokemon, resist poison. Metagross, second most popular, immune. Swampert, third most popular, resist. Skarmory, fourth most popular, immune. Fifth most popular, Gengar, quad resist. It's terrible. You get the point. Which leads me to my last major point, which, if it wasn't already obvious, the point is all the other types are just better at doing something. But there is one more very important thing I need to let you know, because I didn't even realize this until I did some research. Did you know that flying is actually almost entirely a strict upgrade offensively compared to poison? Did you know that? So let's compare poison to flying. Why would I ever pick hidden power poison over hidden power flying when The only thing I'm hitting super effectively with poison is grass. Okay, well, flying does that, and it also hits bug and fighting super effectively. Okay, what resists the two? Well, rock actually resists both of them, so they're tied on that one. Steel resists flying, but steel is completely immune to poison. Oh, remember those other things? Ghost, poison, ground, all those other common types that poison has a problem with. Flying hits them all neutrally. So flying is almost entirely strictly better. Almost. The only advantage is offensively is that poison does neutral damage to electric types, whereas flying, the damage is half. That is the only thing poison has over flying. The only thing. So the only argument I saw of why I would ever run hidden power poison, which I'm not doing this, is, well, if you have a choice banded Aerodactyl, you can hit, Celebi Breloom for super effective damage while also doing neutral to electric. Because as I just told you, flying is a strict upgrade except literally that one match. Okay, well, here's the thing. Magneton's part steel, so they're completely immune to poison, okay? So that means that's only helping out basically 3 Pokemon. Zapdos, Jolteon, and Raikou on your Aerodactyl. Guess what? Earthquake deals with Raikou. Earthquake deals with Jolteon. Rockslide deals with Zapdos. And as I just told you a second ago, flying is almost entirely a strict upgrade. Guess what type Aerodactyl is, guys? So if you put Hidden Power Flying on Aerodactyl, you actually get stab bonus on top of that, on top of already being better than Poison. So if I just simply have HP Flying on Aerodactyl and it hits a Jolteon, Raikou, or Zapdos, sure, it does slightly less damage, but it's only a little bit because I have a stab bonus on top of that, right? 105 divided by 2 is 52.5 as opposed to Hidden Power Poison, which is 70, and opens up a myriad of problems against all the rock types, the steels, the grounds, ghost, poison. No, I'm not running hidden power poison on Aerodactyl. I hope I was very thorough and clear on that. Okay, hidden power poison, worst one in the game. What is the second worst hidden power in Generation 3 OU? That honor goes to Dragon. There are some people out there that believe that Dragon is actually the worst type and that poison is better. I do not agree with that. And I think I have a pretty legitimate argument to say why Dragon's slightly better. They're both god awful though. These hidden power types are F tier because there's basically no reason to use them because they're strictly outclassed by other ones. So poison outclassed by flying, as I told you already. Dragon is outclassed by ice. Dragon is only super effective against dragon. Ice is also super effective against dragon, and it's also super effective against grass, ground, and flying. Those are some pretty important types you want to be hitting in Gen 3 OU because ground is strong and it's immune to sand, and then flying types can avoid spikes. So ice, very important. So it almost basically takes away Dragon's job entirely. So the only dragons you're hitting with Hidden Power Dragon is Salamence, Flygon. Those are the big two. And then the 2 UUBL dragons are Dragonite and Kingdra. Out of those 4, 3 of them are in fact hit 4 times super effectively by ice, right? So literally the only Pokemon in the entire game where it makes sense to run Hidden Power Dragon against is Kingdra. So that's 1 point for Dragon over Poison. At least I can think of a Pokemon where I can do some damage to. So problem number 1 is Kingdra's a good Pokemon, but it's not super relevant, right? You don't see it a whole lot. So already Hidden Power Dragon, not too useful. Another thing is that if, let's say you're Jolteon, right, who runs Thunderbolt and either Hidden Power Ice or Grass, you wouldn't ever run Hidden Power Dragon on Jolteon to hit Kingdra because your Thunderbolt after the stab, in fact, does more damage than Hidden Power Dragon, so you wouldn't need it. So a lot of special attackers are better off hitting Kingdra with just their special moves, right? It just does more damage than Hidden Power Dragon. So unironically, the best Pokemon really to be running Hidden Power Dragon is actually Kingdra themselves because Kingdra does not learn Dragon Claw like, Flygon and Salamence. Dragon Claw just does more damage. So that is its hardest hitting Dragon type move, okay? However, that's another problem because Kingdra actually gets Dragon Breath as well, and I've seen Kingdra more commonly do that because Dragon Breath has a 30% chance to paralyze you, and it's only 10 base power weaker. So the upside is it's kind of there for Dragon Breath. So why am I putting Dragon over Poison? Well, there's 3 reasons. The first reason is because at least there is some target being Kingdra. It's not a super relevant Pokemon, but at least I have a target for Dragon. With Poison, I could not think of anything. So that's reason number 1 is at least I'm doing something as opposed to nothing. The second reason why I think Dragon's better is because somebody could also use it themselves. That being Kingdra. That is their strongest stab dragon move. That's just how it is. But it's actually not just Kingdra. Like, that's probably what you were thinking, Kingdra. But I was thinking about it a little bit more. And I don't recommend this at all. But Gengar and Moltres, right? Because Gengar is Ghost and Poison. So he's just using a bunch of special attacks and none of them are stab. So, like, Thunderbolt is, in fact, his hardest hitting attack other than Explosion, right? On Kingdra. But if you had Hidden Power Dragon, that would do considerably more than Thunderbolt. It would do actually about 40% more. And the same thing with Moltres. Moltres has Flamethrower. Kingdra straight up quad resist that. And if you had Hidden Power Grass on Moltres, you're not doing any damage to Kingdra, right? So, and Moltres is actually faster than Kingdra before the rain comes up. So it could go for Hidden Power Dragon on that thing. So you have a target and you actually have a few Pokemon that could actually use it. It's just very, very ill-advised. So yeah, it's not as good as Hidden Power Ice, obviously, but that Dragon could carry over to hitting a Salamence or Flygon or whatever. And then the third reason why Hidden Power Dragon's better than Poison, and I think this is the most important reason, is a simple fact. Dragon is just better offensively than Poison because Dragon is only resisted by Steel, right? Steel is immune to Poison. And then the only upside Poison has over Dragon, it's super effective against Grass, whereas Dragon, it's neutral. This is almost like a Hidden Power flying thing. So Dragon is just a very consistently safe move to hit, all the Pokemon with. So I hope that makes sense to you. Like, when you are judging Hidden Power, you're only judging offensive relationships, obviously. It's the only thing that matters, and Dragon is just offensively almost strictly entirely better than Poison at everything. So that's the F tier. This is the worst tier. You don't ever want these hidden powers. They are basically useless. And to me, the only reason you would actually pick Poison over, Dragon is simply because you are a physical attacker. Poison's physical, Dragon's special. So if your Pokemon that you're using has 1,000,000 attack and 0 special attack, sure, you can have Hidden Power Poison over Dragon. That makes sense. But I mean, once again, you could just run Hidden Power Flying to begin with. So, but there you go. I mean, if you absolutely had to choose between the two and you can only pick one, that would be the reason. It's just your physical stat. Or if you have a deep-seated hatred and vendetta against a particular grass type Pokemon. Okay, moving on to the E tier. This tier is like, the hidden powers are very irrelevant, right? They're not completely useless like Dragon and Poison, but you would see this once in a blue moon, and this is like a lot of theory crafting stuff. So the first type in E tier is going to be Psychic. Psychic, not the best type like it was in Gen 1 anymore, because, the Steel and Dark types were invented, but it has its moments. So who could be using Psychic? Well, Psychic is super effective against Poison and Fighting. It's not the greatest offensive profile, but a Grass type special attacker could use this. So here's the Grass types. Breloom ain't doing any special damage. Celebi just gets Psychic anyway. So these are like the candidates. Oh, not Executor. He gets Psychic. Ludicolo, Sceptile, Venusaur, Cradily, Vileplume. But I would say the best 2 candidates would be Venusaur and Sceptile. Venusaur's stab options being Grass and Poison make it so that you kind of get hard-walled by Gengar, and Gengar is a very common Pokemon. Sceptile also struggles with Gengar, and Venusaur and Sceptile are both special attackers. What's interesting is they both get Earthquake, which is good for poison types, but as you can see, the most relevant poison types are in fact completely immune to Earthquake. And then you have Hidden Power Psychic, which also hits Venusaur too. So we know that Venusaur and Sceptile are both special attackers, so they want to be using special attacks. Two, Hidden Power Psychic with these guys, actually, there's an argument to be made where it may in fact be better than Earthquake, because Earthquake couldn't even hit like three of the most common poison types, and then Hidden Power Psychic also just does better against Venusaur. But on top of that, you look at the fighting types, which Hidden Power Psychic does good against, and Breloom and Heracross also resist Earthquake. So you could use it for these guys as well. So another thing of judging a hidden power's viability is just how many targets I'm hitting. Like with Dragon, it's really just Kingdra. With Psychic, I mean, I just showed you some options to hit him with, and we can use 2 different Pokemon. Even though Venusaur and Sceptile aren't the most relevant, it doesn't matter how relevant your Pokemon is. I know that I have a Venusaur with this move on my team. And I know that Gengar is insanely popular, so I'll probably run into a Gengar that's going to try and wall me so I can smack him in the face with Psychic powers. Keep in mind, though, Psychic gives you 30 speed IVs. If you don't know what that means, basically, whatever speed is your max speed, the most you can have is just one number less. So, in other words, if you are Sceptile, your max speed is 372. You could lose some speed ties, not really speed ties, against Alakazam, but more importantly, Dugtrio. That is not good. Dugtrio is pretty common. So if they're jolly, they'll just outrun you and kill you with an HP bug. And as you can see, Venusaur right here is speed tying with Gardevoir, Dragonite, Blaziken, Medicham. Well, it ain't a speed tie no more. If they're all max speed, you will always be moving second, and that is not good. So there you have it, people. Psychic, pretty niche, pretty irrelevant, but it's better than those two down there. The next hidden power is going to be water. Water in a vacuum is actually a very good type, but it's not very good as a hidden power because, well, every single water type just gets Surf, and then a bunch of other Pokemon on top of that get Surf. Like, did you know the Goat Tyranitar can learn Surf? Rhydon, Snorlax, these guys get Surf. So it seems like the lone soldier that will benefit from HP Water is just Jirachi. Which, by the way, HP Water is competing with Water Pulse from Jirachi, which they like that one because that's a 40% chance to confuse. So you can just Calm Mind with Jirachi, and you might invite in some Ground-type Pokemon, some Fire-type Pokemon, and you can do some alright damage. And water is only resisted by water, grass, and dragon, so you can just have your stab psychic take care of those matchups. You can have whatever coverage you want, really. Ice Punch, Thunderbolt, Fire Punch, whatever. So yeah, HP Water, pretty niche, not very relevant. And then the next hidden power in this tier is going to be Dark. I think if you asked me this question a while back, I actually would have put Hidden Power Dark in like a tier higher because Cacturne likes Hidden Power Dark. Cacturne has a 115 special attack. However, Cacturne is permanently banned from OU because his only ability is Sandveil and, you know, Tyranitar and all that. So Cacturne was too strong for the universe, unfortunately. So this tier list is based on OU. So Cacturne is just unfortunately completely out of the picture. So who are the strongest dark types that can use it? Well, Tyranitar and Houndoom, which are the top 2 dark types in usage, they could both get crunched, so they're not going to use it. So the next best things are Umbreon and Shiftry. And Umbreon sometimes just prefers to use Pursuit. So it's kind of just Shiftry from the dark types is the only candidate. So outside of the dark types, I think the best kind of Pokemon that can use HP Dark is probably the psychic types, because with that, you can now hit other psychic types, which you may have been struggling with. And, you know, you can use it for Dusclops and Mischievous as well, because you're just going to be using psychic, obviously, for Gengar. Speaking of Gengar, Gengar's actually one of the better candidates because, you know, he could use it super effective damage against another Gengar, the ghosts and the psychic types themselves, because Gengar doesn't actually have any real stab option. So I don't think HP Dark is wonderful on Gengar, but it could be useful. I actually think the best Pokemon that could run Hidden Power Dark is actually Alakazam. His special attack is 135. That is very high. So after like one Calm Mind, you can rely on Psychic against most of the cast, and then you have Hidden Power Dark for specifically Dusclops and Mischievous. Then you have Celebi right here, Claydol, Starmie, another Alakazam, Espeon, Executor, all these guys in UUBL. So that's like 10 targets right there. And obviously you could use another Psychic type. I just think Alakazam would be the best candidate because they are the glass cannon in this group. Plus, Dark is a fairly consistent offensive type. You have two things you're super effective against, but you're also only resisted by two things. One's being Dark. Granted, that's not good because literally the most popular Pokemon is a Dark type. And then there's Steel. But, Metagross and Jirachi are part Psychic, so they're actually taking neutral damage from that. So that's it for the E tier. Pretty irrelevant. You might not have ever have seen these hidden powers in action, but like I said, still better than Dragon and Poison. Okay, moving on to the D tier. These types, I have actually seen all of them in action. Moving forward, every single hidden power down here, they've all been seen, they've all been used, and they can in fact win you the Pokemon battle. It's not just a total meme or a joke like Hidden Power Dragon, okay? So the ones in D tier are legit, but they are very, very matchup specific and quite uncommon. The first one I'm going to be talking about is Hidden Power Steel. Steel offensively in a vacuum is bad. Like, it's really, really bad. I would say the only one it's better than is it's slightly better than Poison. So why is it so much higher? Well, if you've ever seen any of my videos and the legendary Taco Bell team, you know that the last Pokemon is a Registeel. It's a Registeel, Curse, Amnesia, Rest, and its only attacking move is Hidden Power Steel because there is no type in the game that is immune to Steel. And another thing too is nobody gets any Steel type moves. It's like they don't even exist. It's like the opposite of Water. Everybody learns Surf. Nobody has any Steel type moves. So Hidden Power Steel is in fact the most useful Steel type attack in the game. So with Registeel, you get a little stab bonus from that too, and you don't have any immunity. So you just survive to the end game, and then the idea is you can clear out everybody slowly but surely. I will say though, the problem with HB Steel and Registeel is you can actually just use Return. Return, in fact, has way better matchups than Hidden Power Steel, right? Normal's just better offensively. The problem is, though, if you run into a Gengar, you just auto-lose. You cannot hit Gengar. So the idea with HB Steel is you prevent that catastrophe from ever occurring, and you have a good matchup against the most popular Pokemon in the game, which is Tyranitar. And you get some extra bonuses. You have super effective damage against Aerodactyl, Regirock, Armaldo, Jinx, Articuno. So it's not too many Pokemon, but it just gives you that safety net where, okay, I don't know what you have, but if you have a Gengar, I can still beat you. But yeah, look, Steel is just bad offensively. I mean, look, Charizard, resist. Fortress, resist. Gyarados, resist. Jirachi, resist. Jolteon, Magneton, Metagross, Milotic, Moltres, Skarmory, Starmie, Suicune, Swampert, Zapdos. It's a lot of people. And the other best Pokemon at running HB Steel is, I would say, Snorlax. If you are using a Cursed Snorlax with Rest and you just have Return, you can kind of destroy almost every Pokemon in the game except Tyranitar and Gengar is the main two, and you can also hit Aerodactyl in the face. Tyranitar is a Pokemon that can give Snorlax a lot of issues, what with the Sand and Dragon Dances, so why would you not run Earthquake, which is going to do more, or Brick Break or something? It's because Gengar is immune to Return, Earthquake, and Brick Break. So Hidden Power Steel patches up all those little nooks and crannies. So with Curse, Rest, Return, and HB Steel, Snorlax can kind of destroy everybody in the entire game except Steel types. So, yeah. I've even seen a defensive Flygon using this one, like Toxic, Sub, all that stuff. And its only attacking move was Hidden Power Steel because, it's a physical attack and nobody resists it. So they're just concerned about outputting little bits of damage and like Toxic stalling them. I don't think that one is as good as Snorlax and Registeel, but that is a honorable mention. Coming in next is Hidden Power Electric. Like Steel, I've kind of only really seen this one on like 2 Pokemon. So the 2 Pokemon I've seen with it is Suicune and Kingdra. They're both special attackers, and the idea with both of them is, one sets up the rain, one sets up Calm Minds, and they kind of just, fire off a million Surfs or Hydro Pumps. That's their primary attacking move. The second most common one is Ice Beam, right? It just works well with water. You can hit flying types, grass types. That's not good for water. But you know what type resists both water and ice? Water. And water is a very common type. So they'll run electric to beat the water types. But why don't they just use HP grass, right? HP grass is better. Because grass is super effective against rock and ground, which is nice, but you already have, stab surf hitting them, completely destroying them. So you don't need grass for that. And a bunch of Pokemon end up resisting grass anyway, so you could lose out on some potential damage. And a big reason why they like electric is particularly against Gyarados. Gyarados can give Kingdra and Suicune some issues. He can come in, Thunder Wave, taunt, like Suicune likes to rest and calm mind, and Kingdra sets up rain, sub. So Gyarados can kind of throw a wrench in their plans and resist their attacks, and Gyarados just has a high special defense. Gyarados could Dragon Dance and Reverse Sweep. It can be a problem. But with Hidden Power Electric, boom, you have a 4-time super effective move that clears the water types and Gyarados. And then as for Swampert, you can just hit him with Surf. And now we have the next type, which is going to be Hidden Power Ground. Ground is a very good offensive type. The thing is, though, everybody and their mother just simply learns Earthquake. But not everybody learns Earthquake. So who can benefit from Hidden Power Ground? Well, you would need Flying type Pokemon with strong attack stats, because Flying types suck against Rock and Steel, which ground beats. So in the UUBL tier, you have Swellow, you have Dodrio, you have Crobat. Normal types also suck against Rock and Steel types. And you know who is a normal type that doesn't learn Earthquake? Zangoose and Linoon. Linoon can be really scary because you can just belly drum and kind of kill everybody. The only things that could stop the extreme speed is the Rock and Steel types, but you're just going to get killed by HP ground because Rock and Steel types are slow anyway, so he's just going to outspeed you and take you out with that. So that makes sense, right? All those Pokemon have very high attack stats, and they can take advantage of ground as coverage, but oddly enough, there's actually one Pokemon out there that doesn't have a very high attack stat, and it is the Pokemon that I have seen the most running Hidden Power Ground, and it is, in fact, given me the most problems. And I'm talking about Skarmory, of all things, right? So why is Skarmory running Hidden Power Ground? Why can't you just have Drill Peck? Oh, you got a problem with Tyranitar? Just use Steel Wing. Hell, use Hidden Power Steel so you don't miss. There is a Skarmory set out there called YOLO Skarm that runs Hidden Power Ground. And the idea is, it is literally for one specific Pokemon, and that is Magneton. Magneton's number one target in the entire game is Skarmory, because Skarmory is the most popular spike setter. It's everywhere. It's like kind of the premier physical wall. A lot of teams rely on Magneton, so sometimes Skarmory will invest in attack and speed to outspeed Magneton, and then just dead. So if you use Magneton a lot, and you're kind of new to this game and you think you're going to be safe, I assure you, you are not safe. It's going to happen to you, I promise. And you're going to be like, what the hell was that? Was that Hidden Power Fire? So that was the D tier. These ones, very niche, not really relevant, but they can happen and they can do stuff. Moving on to the C tier. These ones are not like super niche. They're more common, although they're not like really relevant, but they also don't have like super specific matchups like the D tier. So the first type I'm going to be talking about is Rock. So first of all, Rock is just a pretty good offensive type in Gen 3 because, well, first of all, you can just one-shot Charizard and Moltres, so that's cool. And you've got good matchups against the occasional Ice and Bug types, but primarily the flying types. Ground and Steel do resist Rock, but, realistically, people like to use spikes a lot, so those Pokemon come in and they take a lot of damage. You know who doesn't take damage from spikes? The flying types, which the rock types hit super effectively. So it's a pretty good offensive profile. So on top of having a good offensive profile, another thing is that HP Rock is a direct competitor with Rock Slide. They do almost the same damage. HP Rock is 70, Rock Slide is 75. But Rock Slide can miss. It's got the 30% chance to flinch, which is so annoying, but it can miss. The thing is, though, Aerodactyl and Tyranitar, who likes to Dragon Dance, they prefer to just Rock Slide because they're trying to outrun the opponent and rely on flinches. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody's evil. Some Pokemon are just slower, like Donphan or Regirock. They can't flinch you with Rock Slide because they did not move first, so they'll just rely on HP Rock instead, so they never have to miss. It's about the same amount of damage. And another thing, too, is some players... There's a lot of Pokemon that learn Rock Slide. Some people just will use Hidden Power Rock because they just want the coverage and they never ever want to miss. They don't care about flinching you. I've even seen Aerodactyl and Tyranitar one time run Hidden Power Rock. And Ancient Power too, by the way. And on top of all of that, there are 2 Pokemon I just thought of that can use HP Rock that cannot learn Rock Slide, and that's Celebi and Gyarados. Celebis with Swords Dance love to run Hidden Power Rock is their attacking move. Why? Well, you know who does super effective damage against the grass type Celebi? Ice types, fire types, flying types, bug types. Guess what type beats all 4 of them? Rock. And then you have Dragon Dance Gyaradoses with Earthquake that love to run Hidden Power Rock because Earthquake is a great move, but you know what resists it? Well, Bug. Okay, Rock beats that. But more importantly, Flying types. Flying types and Levitating Pokemon are everywhere in Gen 3. So, Hidden Power Rock is the only physical Hidden Power attack that can hit Flying types. So, Gyarados will just run HP Rock and Earthquake. So that's Hidden Power Rock. The next type coming in is Hidden Power Ghost. Ghost is a physical attack, okay? So what would you need Ghost for? Okay, well, Ghost is good against Ghost and Psychic. And you know who sucks against both of them? Fighting types. And just so you know, the only fighting type, like in the game, that can learn Shadow Ball, which is obviously better than HP Ghost, is Medicham. So literally every other fighting type that cannot hit these Psychic and Ghost types, they need Hidden Power Ghost to do it. Another Pokemon that likes HP Ghost is Fortress because Fortress has the worst matchup on planet Earth against Gengar. You know, that's the primary spin blocker. And Fortress, what's he going to do? Hidden Power Bug? That's nothing. Earthquake, Rapid Spin, he has nothing. So sometimes he likes to smack Gengar in the face. And another thing, too, is HP Ghost helps the fighting types against, the occasional poison types, the bug types, and the millions of flying types, so a little more damage there. So that one's pretty straightforward. It's just a physical attack that patches up the fighting types' problems. And then the next one is going to be Hidden Power Fighting. This one was the hardest one for me to rank out of all these guys. Hidden Power Fighting feels like it never comes up. Like, it feels so irrelevant. But when it does come up, the payoff is pretty high. So the power of HP Fighting feels like it should be a little bit higher, but the relevancy makes it feel like it should be a little lower. So I'm putting it right here in C tier. So first of all, any Pokemon that can learn Brick Break will never ever use Hidden Power Fighting, right? I feel like that's really obvious. So there's only a few candidates that can use it. So all the Pokemon that can learn Brick Break do so using their fists. So who doesn't have fists and opposable thumbs? All the flying creatures in this game, and Jirachi. So from experience, the best Pokemon with HP Fighting, the candidates are Aerodactyl, Zapdos, Moltres, and Jirachi. This is just what I've seen, and it hurts when it happens. In case you are unaware like Quagsire, the number 1 Pokemon in the game is 4 times weak to fighting. And I would say even more importantly than that, there is a very, very evil Pokemon in this game called Blissey. That is their only weakness. Snorlax, pretty scary Pokemon if that thing gets out of hand. They are weak to fighting. If you ever see a Cloyster, which I know you didn't, they are also weak to fighting. Okay, so I'm going to paint you a picture of how this could come up, because this has literally happened to me. Tyranitar and Zapdos are two of the most common leads in Gen 3, right? You see them all the time on turn 1. So me, I led with Tyranitar, setting up the permanent sand, gonna go do my Dragon Dance shenanigans. They had a Zapdos. Well, what does Zapdos always do as the lead? Well, it has Thunderbolt. It could hit you with HP Ice or Grass, Thunder Wave or Toxic, Sub, Baton Pass, whatever, Protect, Roar. They have all these moves. That's what always happens. So you're already conditioned to think, okay, this is what it's going to do. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to be like, oh, well, that Zapdos is just going to Baton Pass out, right? So I'm going to go for a safe Rock Slide. Maybe I'll kill it if it stays in. Perhaps I'll go for a Dragon Dance, right? Wrong. If Zapdos is max attack, adamant, all that good stuff with a choice band on turn 1 with hidden power fighting, if your Tyranitar has no bulk, which they usually lean more into offense than bulk, if you have no bulk, that is a guaranteed one-hit KO, no questions asked. And even if you do have some bulk in Tyranitar, it's still a very reasonable range to just one-hit you. And keep in mind, Zapdos, out of those guys, Zapdos has the lowest attack. Moltres, Jirachi, base 100, Aerodactyl 105. So Zapdos is rocking a 90, and you're getting threatened on turn 1. Your whole life, everything, gone. The scariest thing about it is you don't see it coming. It's like the ultimate sleeper build. Because like I said, you've seen a million Zapdos on turn 1. They don't do that. So you would think that Aerodactyl is the best one at using the hidden power fighting because it has the highest attack stat and it also gets other good moves like Rock Slide and Earthquake. But I think Jirachi, Zapdos, and Moltres are better because they are what the kids call choice band lures. So what makes them so good is because the 3 of them are all special attackers, they like to invite in Tyranitar, who destroys all 3 of them, and they invite in Blissey and Snorlax, who are kind of, specially bulky, so they can't do any damage to them normally. So yeah, they just come in and then they get 1 hit or 2 hit. Word from the wise, if you see a lead Jirachi, Moltres, or Aerodactyl, they're probably carrying hidden power fighting. With Zapdos, you can't really tell. So out of the lead ones that can run HP fighting, Zapdos is the most dangerous, but it does the least amount of damage. Another thing that could backfire is if the Sandstorm is already up, with Zapdos, Moltres, and Jirachi, when they spot that you don't have leftovers, they're going to be extremely suspicious, or at least they should be. So it's a little cheesy. It's kind of highly committable. You're probably better off just being a special attacker. You don't have leftovers, but the payoff is you get to destroy some very, very high value targets. So now we've reached the B tier. These last 5 hidden powers are the most relevant ones in the game. If you had, your eyes closed and you saw hidden power activate, you don't know who used what during the battle, you know nothing, you can bet it's probably one of these 5. Number 5 is hidden power fire. So fire is just a good offensive type. You can hit bug, grass, ice super effectively, but most importantly, steel. The ones that use it the most are like the special attacking grass types and then Magneton and Metagross. Magneton likes it because you can trap in a fortress and then one hit them with HP fire before they can get up another layer of spikes or just one hit you with Earthquake. You can also trap in another Magneton and use HP fire on them. And of course, fire helps you out with all the grass types out there. There are some mixed attacking Metagross sets out there that like HP Fire, particularly for the Steel types, especially for Skarmory, while maintaining coverage over the other Steel types and, of course, the Grass types out there. And then the Grass types themselves really like Hidden Power Fire because Grass and Fire is very good coverage. I would say the most commonly seen Pokemon running Hidden Power Fire is Celebi. Celebi will just have like Calm Mind and then Giga Drain, HP Fire. Giga Drain being a grass move, it's good because you hit rock, ground, and water, which there's a lot of those guys in OU. But the thing is, grass by itself has 7 other types that resist it. Well, fire actually patches up 5 out of those 7. And out of those 5 better matchups, it especially helps out with the grass types, which resist grass. The bug types, aka Heracross, who can just one-shot you usually, but you have HP Fire now. And all the steel types that are running around. And then you have literally all the grass types that are in UUBL plus Shift Tree. They can all just have Sunny Day if they want, and then Solar Beam, which is a one-turn move now, and then Hidden Power Fire, which patches up the weaknesses for Solar Beam. Out of all the not-so-common grass types, I think Executor is the best one to use Hidden Power Fire, because it has Chlorophyll, so you can put somebody to sleep Sunny Day, and then you just literally have Solar Beam and Hidden Power Fire, which is boosted in the sun, too. And you can take out a lot of things. Executor has a base special attack of 125, so it's pretty good. So yeah, fire just helps out with a lot of Pokemon. It works on a good amount of Pokemon, and it helps against a lot of good Pokemon. Okay, moving on. There's only a few of these guys left. Hidden Power Flying. This is one of the best physical hidden powers in the game. Oh, real quick, HP Fire is a 30 speed IV thing. So in other words, you can't be max speed with that one. Out of the top 5 hidden powers that I've got here, flying is the least distributed one. It's only really a few Pokemon using it. And those few Pokemon are Aerodactyl, and then Dragon Dance, Salamence, and Gyarados. That's kind of it. If you're crazy, yes, Belly Drum Charizard. And I suppose Walmart Salamence. Excuse me, I meant Dragonite. So it's really just 3 Pokemon using it, being Arrow, Ment, and Gara. And on top of that, those 3 can sometimes use other hidden powers. Like, the hidden power flying has competition. So Arrow will use, like, HP Bug in fighting, Salamence, HP Grass, and as I said earlier, Gyarados will have hidden power Rock. But when they do have HP flying, it works very well with them for a few reasons. The first big reason is HP flying is in fact all these guys' hardest hitting flying type move. Flying type attacks weren't a thing in Gen 3, so this is what they've got. So they get a stab bonus on top of that. They're actually one of the few Pokemon that uses a hidden power that's the same type as theirs for stab bonus. So you effectively have a 105 base power move. That's pretty good. You know what else is about 100 base power? Earthquake. Flying and ground offensively is extremely good coverage. So they all learn Earthquake, and they're going to be going around and using their slightly stronger HP flying move. It does a little bit more damage. And you know what resists flying? The only types? Electric, Rock, and Steel. Earthquake hits all of them super effectively. So they can kind of just destroy most of the tier with, only a few roadblocks in place, like Zapdos, Skarmory, Aerodactyl, and then Swampert, because Swampert's just built different. But of course, Salamence and Aerodactyl just get Rock Slide, so they can just destroy Aerodactyl and Zapdos anyway, and maybe flinch Skarmory to death. And then the last little detail is just that the Pokemon themselves that are running Hidden Power Flying, they're fast. Aerodactyl's fast, and then the other 2 get Dragon Dance. So with flying, like I said earlier, with ground, well, with Hidden Power Flying, you can just hit everything with very consistent damage and just sweep games. It's like the scariest thing on planet Earth for Breloom and Heracross. We are almost there, people. There's only 3 hidden powers left. We are now entering the 8 tier, and number 3 is going to go to Bug. I would say Bug is the best physical hidden power in the whole game. There's a lot of Pokemon that use HP Bug. I would say the most famous one is Dugtrio. You can just send in Dugtrio and, as the kids say, Doug Trap Celebi and hit him with a 4 times effective HP Bug. Dead. Celebi is actually the number 1 target for HP Bug because a lot of Pokemon hate Celebi, and Celebi's really good utility. Swords Dance, Calm Mind, Leech Seed, Recover. So having HP Bug just completely squash that bee is wonderful. Some other HP Bug users are Aerodactyl, Flygon, Fortress, Tyranitar, Armaldo. All those Pokemon I just named also have a very hard time with Claydol. Claydol just kind of stops all rock and ground type attacks in their tracks. So now you have something to hit Claydol with. Another big target is like Tyranitar. It's the number 1 Pokemon. Starmie is also weak to Bug. I've even seen some weird ones like Metacham, because it just has a high attack stat. Same thing with Metagross, so it can beat up Celebi and Claydol. I've even seen Swampert one time. It went for sub, and then it lured in a Celebi, and then hit him with an HP Bug. And another thing, too, is the only real bug move in this game is Megahorn, which it's really just Heracross, and sometimes Rhydon using that. So Bug type attacks are a scarcity, so HB Bug can patch up a lot of important matchups, particularly for Pokemon that like to use like rock and ground type attacks, because Claydol walls them and everybody's one shot in Celebi. That's wonderful. There's even a lot of targets in UUBL for HP Bug. You've got the grass types down there, you got quite a few psychic types, and Umbreon, who is unkillable. So yeah, Bug's pretty good. The number 2 hidden power in the game is going to be Ice. Ice is a pretty good offensive type. There's actually 8 Pokemon in OU that are weak to Ice, 2 of them being 4 times weak to it. Really, I'd say the biggest issue with hidden power Ice is just the fact that some Pokemon learn Ice Beam and they'd rather have that. But out of the ones that do learn Ice Beam or Ice Punch too, well, they pretty frequently use it because Ice is just a good type. I think one of the reasons why Ice is slightly better than Bug is, how like Bug is very popular because it's 4 times effective against Celebi. Well, Celebi is on about 25% of the teams. Just so happens that Ice is 4 times effective against 2 different kinds of Pokemon, being Salamence and Flygon. Flygon's on about 6.5% of teams, and Salamence is on like 28. So if you just do the math, that is considerably more than seeing Celebi. Oh, by the way, Ice is good against Celebi. Another good target for HP Bug, Claydol. Claydol's also weak to HP Ice. So who likes to run Hidden Power Ice? Well, one person is Celebi, funny enough. And I know they also like Fire, like I mentioned earlier, but sometimes they like Ice. One reason is because, well, you don't only have 30 speed IVs like Fire, so you can be max speed with Ice. And Grass, Celebi's other type, Giga Drain, that is resisted by Grass, Flying, and Dragon. Ice hits all of them. And like I said, another convenient thing is Ice is 4 times effective against 2 very common Pokemon. Then you've got some not so common hidden power Ice users, such as like Magneton. Even Charizard and Moltres can run it because, 4 times effective against Salamence and Flygon. So you just completely delete them. But I gotta say, the 3 Pokemon that take advantage of Ice the most, it's gotta be the electric types. Jolteon, Zapdos, and Raikou. Those 3 have the hardest hitting Thunderbolts in the game. They're very strong special attackers. But they run into some problems, such as grass types, ground types, dragons. Well, Ice beats all of them. And like I said, an extra bonus is 2 of the ones that they're beating are just 4 times weak to Ice, so they just get deleted. The only Pokemon in the entire game that resists both electric and ice is Magneton. Magneton's not even a bulky Pokemon to begin with. You could take it out with like your own Zapdos or something. So with Thunderbolts and Hidden Power Ices, you can output some of the most consistent damage in the whole game. Our journey is finally coming to an end, people. I know, it's very sad. There's only one Hidden Power left, and it's going all by itself in the S tier. And that is Hidden Power Grass, which is so crazy to me because when I first started playing Gen 3 OU, I never would have guessed it would have been Grass because Grass offensively, like if you look at a type chart, Grass is one of the weaker types offensively in the game because 7 things resist it. And I know a lot of people would agree with me on that take that Grass is the best hidden power. So how can this be when Grass is so bad offensively? Well, there's a lot of reasons why it's the best hidden power. So the first reason that's probably the simplest one for you to understand is that everybody and their mother is using Hidden Power Grass. I have seen like every special attacker ever in this game use Hidden Power Grass at least one time on me. It is the most relevant one. And I'll be touching back on that in a second with how they all do it. The second reason is that Hidden Power Grass is the best grass move in the game. It's like Hidden Power Flying. It has a monopoly. It is just the best one. The only other one stronger than Grass is Solar Beam. However, that's a charge move. So if you're one of the millions of teams that are using a Tyranitar on your team, relying on sand, then if you're relying on sand, you're probably also not going to have Sunny Day on your team with Solar Beam. So you're probably just going to have to use Hidden Power Grass. And even if you're not running a sand team, you probably have Hidden Power Grass. Everybody has Hidden Power Grass. Which goes to the third reason where if you're using a grass Pokemon, you could just run Hidden Power Grass because that's your best thing, barring Breloom, because Breloom's, not a real grass type Pokemon. But the other ones, they can run grass over Giga Drain. The fourth reason, and this is a very big one, is literally just because of Swampert. Swampert is 4 times weak to grass, and it's literally its only weakness, which is very good for Swampert because bro has 4 resistances: fire, poison, rock, steel, and is just immune to electric. So the only way to really do any damage to Swampert is with grass. So you might be thinking, well, how is grass ahead of ice when there's 2 Pokemon 4 times weak to ice, but only one 4 times weak to grass? That's because statistically, the likelihood of you running into Swampert is about equal to the likelihood of running into Salamence and Flygon put together. Like, Swampert's everywhere. And Swampert is way tankier than Salamence and Flygon collectively, particularly Salamence. Flygon can be kind of annoying. Swampert is always just hard to bring down. Salamence and Flygon, they just don't have as good of a defensive profile as Swampert. First of all, the 2 dragons both have 80 defense and 80 special defense, right? Swampert has 90 a pop, and Swampert has more HP than both of them. And like I said, Swampert's defensive typing also far greater. Another thing is that, like we were talking about HP Ice. Well, guess what? There's a bunch of Pokemon that just simply have Ice Beam or Rock Slide for Salamence. Those are very common attacks. So Hidden Power Ice is not as needed, whereas Swampert, like I said already, like Hidden Power Grass, that's kind of it for everybody. It's interesting how that works. Swampert is the 3rd most common Pokemon behind Tyranitar and Metagross. Swampert is usually used to kind of keep those 2 in check, as well as Aerodactyl and a few other guys too. So in turn, because Swampert is everywhere to keep those guys in check, Hidden Power Grass is needed to keep Swampert in check. I kind of like that dynamic because grass offensively is not very good, but we're in an interesting situation where Hidden Power Grass is kind of needed to solve this dilemma. So now that you understand the important points, I'm going to go through each group of Pokemon that actually uses Hidden Power Grass. So the first group I already mentioned, it's the grass types. If they don't care about healing much with Giga Drain, and they also don't want to go for Sunny Day and then Solar Beam, they can rely on the strong stab Hidden Power Grass. The second group are the fire types, like Moltres and Charizard. They don't have the best of times with the water types and Tyranitar. So Hidden Power Grass helps them out with that, and it's the most common hidden power they carry. The third group is the water types. This one's not too common, but I've seen it. So I earlier on mentioned that Suicune and Kingdra like Hidden Power Electric because they can beat other water types and do really good against Gyarados. Well, with Hidden Power Grass, water types can beat other water types and one-shot Swampert. The fourth group of Pokemon with HP Grass are the electric types. This one's super important to understand because, like I said earlier when I was talking about Ice, the best beneficiaries of HP Ice are the electric types. But guess what? From my experience, I have in fact seen them more frequently with grass. So the electric types usually prefer Hidden Power Grass over Ice because of like opportunity costs. Swampert is only weak to one thing, which is grass. And as we know, grass is not very good offensively. It's just for this one particular job. Flygon and Salamence, like if you put Hidden Power Grass on Zapdos, you can still 2-hit Salamence at least with Thunderbolt, right? Now, you will have problems with Celebi and Breloom because, you know, they both resist electric and grass. But guess what? All 4 of those Pokemon, the dragons and the grass types, they're all weak to ice. So you can just have somebody else do that job with Ice Beam, which is stronger than Hidden Power Ice. There's a bunch of Pokemon that have Ice Beam. So that's better than Hidden Power Ice, whereas with Grass, there's nothing better than Hidden Power Grass. So if you're going to slap Hidden Power Grass on someone, you might as well just put it on the electric type so you can beat Swampert as well as the other ground types, which the electric type also conveniently struggles against. But now you got Grass to help you with that. So that's another reason why I'm putting Grass above Ice, because literally the Pokemon that benefit the most from Ice, they benefit usually slightly more from Grass. It just does better than that. The fifth group of Pokemon, and this one's also not very common, are the Ice types. So like Cloyster, Jinx, Articuno, they're all special attackers. They can have Hidden Power Grass to defeat the water types. The sixth group of Pokemon are the Psychic types. Jirachi, especially Jirachi, that is the most common Psychic that'll have Hidden Power Grass for ground types. as well as Tyranitar. I've even seen Metagross, who really shouldn't be running special attacks, but I've seen it with Hidden Power Grass. Alakazam, I've seen that too. Our favorite Ghost Poison Pokemon with no stab options, Gengar. Seen that guy with Hidden Power Grass a lot. The Dragons, that's the next group. The Dragons with Hidden Power Grass, especially Salmons, that is extremely common. If you're up against a mixed Salmons, it's going to have Hidden Power Grass, I promise. Then there's the Dark types, Tyranitar and Houndoom. Tyranitar usually HP Bug, but it literally will carry Hidden Power Grass specifically for Swampert, because Swampert comes in all the time and it can stop your Dragon Dance sweep. I've seen Dragon Dance Tyranitars running the special attacking Hidden Power Grass for that one individual. So in other words, it's every single special attacker in this entire video game. Then it's like the mixed attackers as well. So like Charizard, Salamence, they carry Hidden Power Grass. Then there's just weird ones which you wouldn't expect, like Blissey. I've seen, guys, I've seen this before. Blissey with Hidden Power Grass, because sometimes Swampert likes to come in and sub-focus punch, Earthquake, whatever. Blissey's running Hidden Power Grass. And the thing to really hammer it home, to let you know how dominant Hidden Power Grass really is from what I've seen, it's an anomaly because it's the only type in the game where it's a special attack, but I've seen physical attackers using it because it's that good. So as I've said, Dragon Dance Tyranitar will have HP Grass to stop Swampert. Same thing with Metagross. Their attack is like 40 higher than their special attack. Of all the Pokemon in the game that have run HP Grass, where their attack was higher than their special attack, there is nothing funnier than seeing Swampert running Hidden Power Grass to beat Swampert. He himself is running Hidden Power Grass. So there you people have it. Hidden Power Grass is the best hidden power in Gen 3 OU. Very, very dominant. And so there you have it. This is it. This is truly it. The Gen 3 OU hidden power tier list. You can all see the entire thing on the screen right now. This took me a minute to put together, as well as all my thoughts and reasoning and stuff. So I appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. And let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Until next time, I will see you later. Have a good one. Take care.